Hey, welcome to Arbor Day in 2021. Next slide. Welcome to the Chelmsford Public Library. And in cooperation with the Chelmsford Tree Committee. Next. I'm your host, Jim Martin. I'm a retired consulting arborist. I've got my education and employment there, done a little bit of everything. That and $3.50 will probably get me a cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. Just to give you an idea where I'm coming from. The topic today is properly planting tree seedlings. Next. And there's two things to remember about tree seedlings. One is they get much larger over time, and it's very important to select their right place because they don't move. Mm-hmm. Next. The goal of any tree should be it will be an asset and not a liability at maturity. That was one of my old professor's favorite sayings, and it's really true. Next. Today we're going to break this down into a couple of different sections. First of all, we're going to talk about the seedling plants that are available through the library for this year. Then we're going to talk about planting location. Then we'll get into planting directions, a little bit about aftercare, then seedling protection, and then questions. And if you have a question, you can email me and I'll try to answer the question for you. Okay, we have three seedling options: Colorado spruce, common lilac, and American persimmon. Next. Colorado spruce. This gives you some idea of what about a 30-year-old tree would look like. They will get to a height of somewhere between 30 and 50 feet and a spread of 10 to 20 feet. So they're going to be a pretty good sized critter when they're all grown up. You really can't tell the final size because that will be determined by genetics and environment. But it gives you some idea what the thing will look like and how big it will get. The site that they grow on requires full sun. And a tree like this, you want the bottom branches to go all the way to the ground and then all the way around. And branches won't grow in shade. So you need a nice sunny spot. And I think the key feature here is the foliage. Next. This is a common lilac, mature height somewhere between 8 and 20 feet. Spread is 6 to 12. And while it might not be as large as the Colorado spruce, they are quite long-lived in the right location. For best flowering, they like full sun. And of course, their key features are the flowers and of course their scent. Now, this isn't an ideal picture as far as where I probably would put mine, but it does give you an idea of what they look like. I particularly like this tree because they didn't prune the bottom branches off. They just left it alone. And this is the shape that you get. It's kind of natural shape. The next one is American persimmon. Mature again 35 to 60 feet, spread 20 to 30 feet. Again, it really likes full sun, but probably can take a bit of shade. And I think its key feature is it's an unusual species, though it does have edible fruit. The fruit remind me more of a tomato than an apple. They're probably 1.5 inches diameter. It takes about 6 years for the plant to start producing fruit. The tricky thing with this is you need a male tree and a female tree, at least if you want the fruit. Next, the planting site. A couple things you want to look at. First, the space. Again, you're thinking of the mature size of the plant. Will it have enough space? And one thing is above ground, particularly for some of the taller plants, don't plant it underneath the power lines. And of course, it also needs an adequate amount of space underground. And since these are trees, we're probably talking 18 to 24 inches down. Talked already a little bit about sun, and then the location. And there is where you have to look at some things. You don't want to plant it probably in front of windows. You don't want to plant it too close to a house or a garage. That will give you problems later on. Also be concerned not too close to sidewalks, driveways. Be careful around patios, and particularly around swimming pools. People get very upset when the tree starts to defoliate in the fall and they all end up in the pool. So that's just try to imagine what the plant is going to look like at maturity. Next, proper seedling planting. Keep the seeds in the bags, just like you got them from the library, until planting. Take a look, make sure that the seedling roots remain moist, but not wet. You don't want to fill the bag up with water, but you would probably like to see a little bit of free water in the corner. Keep the seedlings cool. Don't bring them in the house, put them in the garage. If you don't have a garage, maybe put them outside on the north side of the house. And you want to keep them out of direct sunlight. You probably want to put them in as soon as you're ready. I don't think I'd try to keep them in the bags for over a week. The planting pit, or the hole in the ground, probably would be about 12 inches wide and about 9 inches deep. It really depends on the plant and what the roots look like. Remove the plant from the bag. I saw one very case where they planted it and had lots of fine speeches and everything, but they kept it in the pot when they planted it. So needless to say, that tree isn't going to live very long. Place it in the plant and be gentle with it. Identify the root collar on the tree. Next, this is a seedling all packaged up, and this is typical of what they look like. This shows you what the seedling looks like out of the bag, and you'll see the arrow pointing to the root collar. This is important because it determines how deep that plant is going to be planted. You want the root collar right at ground level. That gives the best chance for the plant to thrive and survive. Next, this is an older tree, but it gives you some idea of where the root collar is. In this case, it's a little bit swollen. The bark changes probably its color, sometimes its texture. The key thing here to notice is the tree roots grow horizontally. They don't go vertically, but that is a common misconception. So people worried about it, they think it grows like a carrot, but it doesn't, at least not most of them. So that's just something to keep in mind, that it's the ground around the tree that's important. Next. Now gently hold the seedling at the root collar. So it'll be the same type, same level as the top of the hole. Yes, green side up. With your other hand, gently spread the roots out and then slowly backfill the soil with that hand. Use the same soil that you took out of the hole. Don't use anything special. I don't recommend using any amendments, because that's the soil that the plant is going to have to live with. And again, keep the root collar at grade level. Once you've filled the hole about 3/4 with soil, add some water. The water will help settle the soil, and then you'll probably have to add some more. Don't pack it down, step on it, whatever. The soil will settle itself, and it's really not good when you compact the soil. Next. Here's a little sketch. You can see I'm not an artist, but it gives you some idea. The root collar at the top of the pit, the roots underneath and fanned out, and it's, of course, it's backfilled with the soil. Aftercare, probably the key thing to successful planting of seedlings is watering. And I would water probably twice a day, and I'd probably add a quart each time I do it per tree. Once the tree dries out, it's dead. It will never come back. So you want to prevent that from happening. The thing is, don't forget vacations. This is a big key as far as watering is concerned. You go on vacation, you're away for 2 or 3 weeks, you come back and the plant is going to be dead. So probably what you want to do is get a neighbor, a friend, or somebody to come over and give it a little love while you're gone. You don't want to count on lawn irrigation systems to properly water trees and shrubs. They just don't do it. I think after the first year, the plant will probably adapt, and then maybe you'd want to water twice a week in July and August when it's real dry, or if we have a real dry summer. But hopefully by that time, the plant will have adapted and be happy. Next, seedling protection. Once you do all of this, the plant is still not out of the woods. One of the main enemies of seedlings is lawnmowers. I can't tell you how many seedlings I've seen run over with lawnmowers. And of course, once that happens, it's not there. String trimmers also do the same thing. So you want to keep those away from the plant. And what I'd suggest here is you talk to whoever does the lawnmower mowing, tell them and show them where the plant is. It doesn't help much. Oh, it's out in the back. Go out there, walk there. That's important because to them, it probably doesn't look like it's important. You might also probably want to put a witness stake in. A piece of pipe, bamboo, anything to stick in the ground so people can see where the plant is and avoid it. Another problem you'll get with seedlings is bunny rabbits. They just love them and they will munch them right down. And of course, this is probably more of a problem in the summertime, but they will do a number. Mice are also a problem. They have a problem in the wintertime. They like to come along and have a little chew on the bark. And it doesn't take much for that to happen. So I'd recommend that you see if you can get some kind of screening or something like that and make a nice screen or cage around the plant to try to keep the bunny rabbits and the mice away from the plant. One thing I failed to mention is mulch will be very good thing too. Wood chips or bark mulch are excellent. And you put it around the plant, probably 3 inches high, but don't put it up against the trunk. Don't do like a lot of the people you see around that have the mulch volcanoes halfway up the trunk. That's bad for the plant. So you want to keep the bark or whatever mulch away from the plant, away from the trunk, probably 2 to 3 inches. The mulch will also help with the roots and the root development. It will encourage them. Next, and I'd like to thank you very much for listening to me drone on. Like I said, if you've got any questions, my email address is right up at the top, jimtrees@aol.com. Not very imaginative, but it's there. So thank you again. I think we might have one more.